One afternoon, as I was editing the last CK3 video, I was visited by an angel who told me that I'm overdue for a Hoi 4 challenge that will shorten my lifespan. I asked the angel what that challenge could be. I mean, let's be real, the Hoi 4 content fields aren't exactly the most fertile right now, but the angel explained that I was simply not paying attention. With the new Czechoslovakian focus tree, there was the potential for my hardest campaign yet, and that's when it showed me the challenge. I would play plain historical Czechoslovakia till the point the Munich conference comes and defend myself against a maximum buff Germany who has also been enhanced by a few AI mods. I'll tell you right now, this was a real test of my willpower because at certain points, I felt like Doctor Strange trying to strike a deal with Dormammu. But enough preamble, time to show you my saga of pain. So starting off, Czechoslovakia has a decent sized army with divisions ranging from has potential to never cook again. But that's not the only thing I have to deal with to prepare this country for war. We got traitors in the Sudetenland who will betray this nation once Germany comes for us. Industrialists who will resist us mobilizing, and clashing ethnic groups sapping my political power gain. This will all be dealt with in time as I go through my focus tree. As for equipment, we're making all the basics here. The Germans are gonna have decent divisions, so I'm gonna need somewhat decent ones as well. As for building, I'm of course doing day one mills, and although we have a malice to making them, I'm going to counter it by selling unnecessary equipment on the international market. For the first time since it came out, this gimmick feature is actually gonna be a key part of my build. Right after that, I'm told about this prepared army balance of power that I need to max out on the right side for our fight against the Germans. To spare y'all a lot of boring build-up that I doubt you want to see, the next 2 years are just a lot of decision clicking to fix the ethnic divisions in Czechoslovakia. I upgrade the Sudetenland forts to level 7 with the decision, and I'm pawning off all the unused equipment around Europe. In January of 1938, I'm actually sitting at a very comfortable 20 military factories. I'm training a large army here consisting entirely of this 19 width template. Since they just need to sit in forts, they don't exactly need to be the best. The Germans did a bit of a late Anschluss in July 1938, but after that, it was pretty clear what was gonna happen next. I get all my divisions deployed along the forts, but I can't help but notice a big concentration of German soldiers by Bratislava and Znojmo. I wonder where they're gonna attack first, guys. I did notice a few tanks in that concentration, and it kind of hit me that, oh, I didn't make any anti-tanks, so I just slapped some support AT in at the last minute and hope for the best here. I did develop my doctrine a bit with an attaché from China, but it's not too much. I also worked on rooting out the paramilitary cells throughout the Sudetenland. On October 19th, 1938, the letter landed on my desk from Big H. I needed to hand over the Sudetenland or face the wrath of Germany alone. And now, this is where the fun begins. As expected, the Germans did a massive offensive into Bratislava. The fort was doing its job, which was greatly appreciated since we were struggling to pierce light tanks apparently. But while we were holding the line in the city, the rest of the country wasn't looking so good. They were lighting me up with strategic bombing, and I'm sure y'all notice the amount of destroyed forts in this queue. My whole defensive plan kind of relied on those forts being around, so I think you can imagine how I felt when they started disappearing.
Something wrong?
German tanks stormed in Bratislava on November 20th. They also bombed half my supply network, so everybody in this area was starving. I knew my fate at this point. he was coming for me and he wasn't gonna have any mercy on this country. I tried to crush the breakthrough they made, but they expanded too fast. I was out of supply, and under red air, the Germans could completely outmaneuver me. Eventually, they cut the country into two, which put my supply capital in Slovakia for some reason, so none of my army had any supply. From all sides, the Wehrmacht closed its jaws around Prague. I tried to fight it, but there really was no point with all the Luftwaffe planes bombing me. There wasn't a single place I could hold. And on January 22nd, they completely killed me. This was the first of many failures. For the next few hours, I tried and failed in a variety of ways to deal with the German attacks. With their boosted production capacity, they could keep costly attacks going for a long time. Even in areas they seemed weak in, I'd struggle to push with their boosted core attack modifier, and when they brought in the Stukas, it'd be curtains for me. The problem I faced is that if I sat too long on the defensive, they would eventually break me, so I needed to do some attacks to bust up their momentum, but sometimes, every time, those attacks would backfire hard on me. Although with each attempt I would do better, the results would end the same. The German war machine would always find a way to crush me. I wondered if I was in over my head. Maybe I really am washed or this challenge is just impossible. But then one evening, as I was preparing to go out to get my mind off this campaign, I got some unexpected help. And he was gonna show me what I needed to do. I wasn't utilizing my industry well enough. I had enough mills to make my army entirely this template, and with this new template, I'd be better able to stand up to the German army. I had the right idea with small counterattacks to disrupt German momentum, and this template would be way better at it. But I had to pick my moments better, so I don't just get curb stomped on the AI's counterattack. With my build improved and me more knowledgeable about what those Krauts were capable of, I felt more confident in my odds when the Munich conference event came around once again. I was very fortunate for the Germans to open up this time with an attack all across the front, which of course went nowhere. They then wised up to focus on Bratislava again, but their divisions were so badly coordinated that I easily slapped them away. After those first few waves, I checked the casualties and I was like, this is it. This is the run. For the next few months, I sat on the fort line, tanking attack after attack. The casualty ratio was still looking really good for us. I felt like I was really grinding down the German war machine. However, despite their failure to subjugate us, the bastards still felt like they could take on more, which I felt was really disrespectful. They aren't going to be allowed to ignore me and attack Poland, so I launched a counterattack into Silesia. I break through the thin German lines and actually managed to take the city of Breslau. But of course, the German troops standing by to invade Poland easily turn around and push me away. They had to focus so much of their military to contain me. Yeah, you could say that this offensive was a fail, but it really angered the Krauts with them launching an all-out offensive, and I disrupted their invasion of Poland, so in a way, this was kind of a strategic success. They were especially wailing on Bratislava for a good month and a half, but thanks to the Last Stand command, we held that city. Their attack army moved away to put pressure on the northern Sudetenland, and I took advantage of their absence to use the troops in the area to destroy the garrisons they left behind. I moved fast on this attack. Fortunately, despite the core attack bonuses Germany had, I was able to break through the thin spots and get myself 2 small pockets, killing off 6 divisions. Now, it was only a matter of time before the Germans would counterattack to retake Vienna, and I had no chance of holding it, but I at least impressed the UK enough with this offensive that they were willing to let me in the Allies. However, I had done so well in this 1v1 so far, I said no to them. I was fully prepared to solo Germany. I had to abandon Vienna without a fight because the Germans were really hard focusing on breaking the main Sudetenland fort line, but they kept failing thanks to the MVP of this campaign. We've been holding on for a year at this point, and I have to say, looking at the casualties once more, I think I've done a bit of damage to the German army. They have to be tired of attacking the same places over and over again. Even with their factories being boosted, the German industry can't keep up with the combat losses, probably further frustrating the German generals trying to destroy me.
There's nothing.
Now, although I've left my mark on the Wehrmacht, the Luftwaffe has left their mark on me. If I'm being honest here, I wouldn't stand a chance if Germany used its entire air force against me, but for some reason, Göring holds back most of the cast from assisting German attacks against me. However, thanks to Göring griefing his countrymen, in March 1940, we're still fighting the good fight, stopping Nazi expansion, and maintaining a 10-1 KD as we do it. One thing I've been doing a lot recently is launching counterattacks from Znojmo and Bratislava, since it's all flat in this area, to snipe German divisions. As you can see, it's a pretty effective tactic since it's easy to attack here, and once it's done, we run back to our homeland. Eventually, in June 1940, the Germans accept that they can't beat me alone, so they start calling in some friends. First Romania, and then Italy, which means there's a good chance Hungary is coming in soon as well. Since this is no longer a 1v1, I think it's pretty fair for me to call in some friends of my own now. The Germans were so focused on me, they had nothing for the French, so you may think this is gonna end pretty fast, but if you check the video runtime real quick, you'll see that this fight is pretty far from being over. The French, who I thought could save me, were quickly stalled by a very minimal German force. And you know what? That's on me. I put my expectations way too high on them. Anyways, at least I get some air cover for once. With Germany's attention split, I tried once more to push into Silesia, but the Luftwaffe quickly put an end to that drain. And while that offensive flopped, the Germans got Hungary to join against me, along with finally taking Bratislava. Meanwhile, to the north, the Krauts were bringing the hammer down to push me. I was quickly thrown out of the area, and now Göring was fully committing all the casts to my air zone, and the poor Allied planes could do little to stop it. I could only put up so much fight under 1,100 bombers, and with my entire supply infrastructure being bombed. The Germans did lay off the east for a bit, and I tried to make another counterattack, but while that was going on, Prague was looking really bad. It was great to kill another 3 German divisions, but now all these units needed to move west to save the capital. I made sure the Germans have to fight for every meter of Bohemia. We've killed 2 million Germans, and we can certainly kill more. Maybe we can even weaken the Germans enough for the French too, and I'm saying this with a big glass of copium tea. The French could make a breakthrough across the Rhine. Despite everything, I still have many men able to fight, but we are kind of running out of land to fight on as we get compressed into Bohemia. However, I do get some hope with the news of Poland joining the Allies, so perhaps in time the Poles can liberate some of my land and keep our fight going. They're gonna have to move pretty fast though, cause I'm kind of running out of time here. I was on some downfall level copium at this moment. Don't worry, the Polish will attack to liberate Slovakia and we will push out from Bohemia to meet them. Sir, the Poles immediately lost Danzig and are getting pushed in from all sides while the French haven't moved a single meter forward. It was pretty much over for me. I was half tempted to restart the run again, and I'm being totally for real about this. There was just a little voice in my head that told me to play it out after I capitulate, because I could still win this. In my final days, I tried to preserve as much of my army as possible, so I could have a decent sized force in exile spawn in London for me to work with, but instead, after Prague fell, the game had something else in store for me. Honestly, at that moment, I was just as confused as you are to how that happened. But looking back at the footage, you can see that right after the Germans took Prague, they spawned in the Reichsprotectorate Bohemia, which for some reason opens an Argarthan portal that sends my army to Burma of all places. I'm not complaining though, because since my entire army is sent overseas, I get to keep it after my country capitulates. All 61 divisions and 647,000 men spread across them. Although I have a huge force, I need to be smart with how I use these divisions, because reinforcing them is going to be a tough challenge. I have no industry, no manpower besides that trickle of daily exile manpower I get, and my focus tree is completely bricked. But for some reason, I still have to deal with this stupid balance of power with army readiness. Like, come on, I think we've proven ourselves at this point. We're kind of stranded in India though, so I have to shake a cup around for convoys, and fortunately Britain was pretty generous with 91 convoys. When they arrived, I'd send my armies back to Europe to contain the German menace, who now with me out of the way is spreading the war to Yugoslavia and the Benelux nations to start the Battle of France. When the convoys arrived, it was enough to just ship one army at a time. As my boys sailed back to Europe, the Allies, to their credit, were actually making moves into Germany from the Netherlands. I also tried to do resistance missions, but for some reason I don't have the option to contact Czech resistance in the Reichsprotectorate, so I can only boost resistance in German territories. When my troops arrive, they deploy in Belgium to stop the German offensive in the area. It is not an easy fight with everything the Germans are throwing at me, but at least I'm kinda able to maintain it by shaking my cup at my fellow allies. My generals and divisions are also so experienced, even with depleted strength, we can give the Germans a hell of a problem in the Ardennes forest. The Germans clearly got frustrated that they were getting nowhere over here, so they shifted north to try to take out the Netherlands. That was actually a pretty smart move by them, because I could not defend well in the flat terrain of the country. However, since they thinned out everywhere else, I tried to do a counteroffensive, but attacking Germans on German territory was a tall order, and soon I got the bad news about the Netherlands capitulating, which basically undid all the Allied gains in northern Germany. The Germans were on a roll for a while after that. They would clean up the French troops around Wilhelmshaven and then push down the coast. They blitzed past Antwerp and Ghent to finally break into France, but this came at the cost of leaving Antwerp lightly garrisoned, so I tried to retake the city. This was not an easy battle though. Through June, I sent wave upon wave of Czech soldiers into the city, kinda like how the Germans did with Bratislava until eventually we pushed the occupiers out. Now, while Antwerp was a key supply point, the Germans still had a land connection to their attacking army, along with the ports of Ghent and Dunkirk to use for resupply. I made sure to hold strong in Lille because that city was also a major supply hub, but the Germans were trying to envelop the city. I moved some troops around to bottleneck this German offensive and prevent them from grabbing more supply hubs, but they're wailing on me from all sides. They're barely holding on, but I noticed some great areas to counterattack. I throw all I can around Dunkirk and eventually retake the port. There we have it, nearly 2 Axis armies cut off in Calais, and of course they're doing whatever they can to get out. Unfortunately, while I'm delaying them with my last standing soldiers, I'm also making more moves that will eventually surround the troops that are trying to break them out. Seeing all those helmets pop by Ghent, oh my god, bro, that felt so relieving. Those boys in Calais now had no hope. At least I wish they understood that, because it would have saved me a lot of time. They fought against me way longer than I thought they could. With all the last standing I had to do to get this pocket, I lost a lot of soldiers, so of course I had to condense my numbers. The AI actually made one more last-ditch attempt to rescue the army, busting through Belgium since I wasn't there to defend it, and while they did get really close, they too failed to save the Calais Krauts. They kept attacking out of the pocket, making this take a while, but finally, on September 12th, a big chunk of them surrendered. 428,000 men were gone. And with them gone, the remnants in the city quickly surrendered, totaling another 190,000. The Germans lost nearly 2/3 of a million men in this pocket. 651,000 Czech men have perished at this point in the war, but they have brought down almost 3 million Germans with them. And we still have 469,000 more men in the field fighting. While I was doing this fighting, the Allies did manage to lock down Africa, but the Axis have secured the Balkans along with Denmark and Norway. The German army situation is unsurprisingly pretty bleak though. They only have 84 divisions and basically no armor among those divisions remaining. The Japanese get involved in the fight, so that means Uncle Sam is finally in the Allies and will hopefully assist us in France. The Axis, knowing they're in a time crunch, now go for one final mega offensive to knock France out of the war before US troops arrive. Wait a second, I think I've seen this one before. I will say, just like last time, it did look really scary for a while for the Allies. The Axis troops had taken over all of Belgium and punched a big hole in our lines straight to Paris. The breakthrough kept expanding, creating a large bulge in France, and the Axis troops desperately tried to take Paris. However, supplies were becoming a bit of a problem for them because I still held all the vital supply hubs in the area like Reims, Amiens, and Lille. Despite that, the Axis armies were throwing everything they had at the city, and I desperately clinged to Paris. Fortunately, by focusing so much attention on taking Paris, the Germans left their flanks lightly defended by their Balkan allies, so we could counterattack from the north, liberating a bit of Belgium. With even less supplies in the area, the Paris offensive lost all its initiative, and we were pushing them back. I gathered my troops to do a pincer attack that would be able to snip off their retreat path. With Allied air power on my side, I quickly overcame the German rear guard and closed the noose around this massive Axis army group. I was amazed. This was an even bigger pocket than the first one around Calais. Also, right after I did this, American troops started arriving in France, so there is no chance for the Axis to come back from this. I spent the next few weeks crushing all those divisions into a small area so y'all can really appreciate what I caught here. I'm counting about 80 divisions here, so yeah, an entire army group is just gone. 842,000 Axis soldiers are destroyed on the outskirts of Paris. Across the whole Western Front, the Allies are pushing the Axis back. Along with Belgium being liberated, we're taking core German territory now. And since this offensive is only possible because of me, I'm taking that state for myself. Finally, for the first time in a year and a half, I have some factories. The British and Americans are working together and blitzing through the Benelux countries, sweeping aside the occupiers and bringing liberty back to the Netherlands. Hell, they're even crossing the Rhine before the end of March. But this isn't the only place the Allies are making gains. To help out, I sent a few soldiers south to help clean up some cut-off Italian troops in the Alps. There was a good army's worth of divisions here, so getting them off the map would be very helpful in our push into Italy. Since it's been nearly 2 years since I've made my own equipment, I was kinda curious what my army was fighting with now, since the only way for me to get new equipment has been through shaking a cup or swiping it off the battlefield. 2/3 of the guns we have are still Czech made, while the other 10,000 are unsurprisingly a little bit of everything. Most of my remaining artillery is Czech, and I don't know when this happened, I scored a sizable amount of Cuban artillery as well. Thanks for the solidarity, my brothers. Everything else I've been scraping by on Lend-Lease. There's another reason why I rushed to kill this pocket in Italy. Once I destroyed this Italian army, I get a bunch of equipment to keep me going. Once that's done, I send everyone back to Germany to finish off the Reich. The Allies have made sizable gains into the country, but I wanted to spearhead the offensive to take Berlin and liberate the home country. I also take control of the German state, so the German workers can make my equipment for a change. There aren't many Axis troops left to stop our advance, so we march across the fatherland towards Berlin. Some last-minute reinforcements turned up to defend the city, but our soldiers were determined to take the German capital. I make them relentless with their attacks, and eventually those fascist goons are evicted from the city, and my hardened troops soon enter Berlin victorious. I noticed that the Allies have made great gains through Austria, so I sent an army over there to quickly pivot north and liberate our home. We kinda shattered the spine of the Axis armies at this point, so this detour was kinda pointless, but whatever. After over 2 years of brutal Axis occupation, Czechoslovakia is being liberated by its countrymen. On November 26, 1942, the Czechoslovakian flag is proudly waved over the capital of Prague once again. It cost a lot to get to this point, and as I've taken casualties, I've had to keep consolidating my divisions to be able to stay in the fight. And as you can see, I'm at half the divisions I was kicked out with. They're all half strength too, so I probably should have consolidated more, but at least with Czechoslovakia liberated, I can replenish them now. On December 7th, 1942, the German Reich capitulated, giving me a great share of their stockpile. Of their 5.4 million casualties, I've caused 3.6 million of them. 2 out of every 3 German casualties were caused by a Czech soldier. Meanwhile, we have taken 914,000 casualties, with 740,000 coming from the Germans. We have the second highest participation in the faction behind the British, although if we're being for real here, I put all these countries on my back, especially France. The war in Europe isn't over yet, but it's not like the Axis remnants could really put up a fight against us at this point. So I spend the next few weeks cleaning up the rest of the fascist goon squad, and on January 31st, 1943, it's all over. The Axis are fully defeated. In this peace deal, I become the overlord over all the Balkan chudlings, and for a second I thought I could bring back Austro-Hungary for the meme, but sadly, Yugoslavia existing killed that dream. It is what it is. I'm just happy that I managed to win this stupid challenge, and my reward for this is hopefully an entertaining video for you all. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed me suffering for your enjoyment once again, so other people will see it too. Thank you to my alumni going the extra mile to support me on Patreon. I really appreciate any support y'all can give me there to continue to make excellent videos for y'all. Remember to subscribe because I got more good content to come, and I'll see y'all later. Bye bye.